All right. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be in time and space. Kineas 2020. That's my screen name on the Microsoft Flight Simulator forums. And so that's what I'm saying. I'm Kineas 2020. It's actually some local news guy, Tony Tuthill. Kineas sounds much better, doesn't it? Yeah. Noobflights. Kineas Noobflights. Okay. This episode is going to be about flying radio station to radio station. We're going to keep this as noobish as possible. Okay? So we're going to fly from... we've been told we need to fly to St. Louis. Okay? From Denver. And we need to... For this mission, we need to remain under the radar. We don't like the... I have a lot of friends like this. If you looked at the picture coming in, and you're all, what is this? Is that Trump on the front? What does it mean, MAGA, uncontrolled airspace? I'm not trying to be too political. I just thought it was kind of funny. There's a lot of folks out there that are like, look, I don't want the deep state or the government all up in my business. Okay? I'm a free man. I can go wherever I want to go, and I don't need you telling me what to do. A lot of folks out there just like, stick it to the man. Stick it to the man. Well, you kind of can, and there's more to it, but again, trying to keep this as noob friendly as possible. Turn this down. Let's be noob friendly on your ears. The gist of the matter is you can still rock in America. Oh yeah, all night. Provided you stay under 1,200 feet. Or, right at, if you're really good. And you could just stick it at 1,200 feet. But, hey, it's best if you can, sit right around 800, 900. Either way, you are still free to move about the country and not tell anybody, like air traffic control. The man, They want to know where you're going. Flight plan this, flight plan that. Have it all written down. Where you're going. What time you expect to be there. So that's the meaning of the title and the little Trump picture up in the corner. For all you MAGA types out there that are like, yeah, Q man, we fly around. We don't want the deep state up in our business. Okay, so that's uncontrolled airspace, and it's available in the United States still. So you can, but again, the provision is for the most part, there are other places where you might be able to go higher, but again, keeping it noobish. That's it in a nutshell. You can travel, and one of the best ways to travel would be from radio station to radio station. They call them VORs in the flight world, okay? And they look like... Where's our... we're taking off from Denver, okay? So let's set that, and let me show you. So KDEN, we'd probably be taking off from a small airfield somewhere else, but just keep it simple. Okay, so KDEN... And we've got it set to go right now, VFR, Visual Flight Rules, VFR, VOR to VOR, radio station to radio station. Now, it is a great idea that you keep a notebook and pencil or pen handy, or a notepad open. So, keep a notepad open, because you're going to need it. All right. The autopilot is going to plug a lot of this in for you, but if you don't have an autopilot, because hey, the man can track you with that, right? You're going to have to do it old-fashioned. You're going to dial the stations in manually. All right? Well, once we leave, that's like not very far, so we don't really need to know the frequency of this one. I mean, once we're taking off this way. But we can, you know, plug it in anyway to just learn how. But the next radio station it wants us to go to along this path, if we're following station to station, it's telling us that we'd go to MCK. These radio stations are always designated by 3s. I can't zoom in any tighter and show you what the little icon looks like. It's distinctive. All right, that's an ILS one, 4 letters. These radio stations that we're looking for have 3 letters, and that's the frequency right here, 1153. So let me get my pen. Get your pen. And write that down. Now, we can fly there without telling anybody as long as we stay below 1,200 feet for the most part. They still, you know, again, there's more to it, but in a nutshell. Okay, so let me write that down, 1153. So we're going to plug that into our radio in a minute. So let's look at the next point they want us to go to. You can map this yourself, but I'm trying to make it simple. We could go grab a map and find the radio stations, plot our own way there. But they suggest we go to TKO, and that is 1098. TKO 1098. Write that down. Okay. And the next radio station, probably all the way to... Yeah, a long stretch. Down to COU, which is 1102. Okay. I think one more. No. Fitz. 1108. FTZ 1108. All right. And then it's just straight over to the airport. Okay, and that's our destination. So that's how you we're gonna, in our radio, we're going to dial that information in. As we hit the next station, then we'll tune to the next radio and then follow the instruments over to the next radio station, and then dial in the next radio station and follow the instruments over to that one. And that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I will get around showing that to you. But what if you're already in the air and one of your Q buddies calls you up and he says, "Hey man, you need to deviate, and you need to go to Hayes, stop in Hayes, and pick up some ribs." Wink, wink. Yeah, stop in Hayes and pick up some ribs, eh? Okay. So, well, what do you do then? You have left the main menu, and you're we're going to be in flight here in a minute. And currently in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the in-flight map, now that information is no longer available to you. Okay. So it's good to find another site for right now, like Skyvector.com, and it's free. Okay. Let me pull up Skyvector and bring it above what we're looking at. Okay, it already is. Let's see if I can zoom into that and if you can see it. Okay, so let's find Hayes Regional, and that's where we're supposed to deviate to and go pick up some ribs, right? So we zoom down here. Now you can find these radio stations because they always have these blue circles around them. And then it tells you in these boxes here, Hayes, HYS, it's 3 letters, so you know it's a radio station that we're looking for.
Denver Tower, Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha at runway 26 ready for takeoff departure to the east.
Shh, don't tell anybody. Okay.
Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha cleared for takeoff runway 26 departure to the east approved.
Shh, they're not supposed to know.
Cleared for takeoff runway 26 Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Are you guys done telling the deep state where we're going or what? Jeez. Okay. So let's write this down. So you should, in planes now, you can have your phone, and if you don't have maps with you, you can use your iPad. So in a real world situation, you would absolutely be using something like this. Or you're going to be carrying around briefcases of maps. All right, so let's write that down. HAYS, it's HYS, and that's at 110.4. Okay. So you're not going to be able to find Hayes once you're here. Now let's go back to this. All right, we're ready to fly. Okay, so the first place they wanted us to really go to was, I think, DVV, and then, was it DVV? I've got MCK and then TKO. Okay, so in a nutshell, oh, I should have picked the other plane without the, we could still do it. I wanted to be under the radar. I wouldn't be using all this fancy electronic equipment. Deep state, man, in your Bidnez. Okay, here's your navigation radio right here. Your co-pilot, same place. Navigation. Okay. So what we need to do is dial the first radio station that we want to go to. So I may have changed it, but I've got MCK. So that one was 1153. All right. So when you spin the dials, that is adjusting the outer number, 115 through. Okay, so now we need to go 115. All right, now we've just changed it, but we haven't set it. Okay, this little blue arrow indicates that it lines up to this double-headed arrow is this double-headed arrow button. And what this does is it puts our radio station into active mode. So click that, and now MCK shows up here. Distance 186 miles, bearing 74. Okay, so it'll probably show up in our autopilot. All right, then once we hit that point, the next one on our my list here is TKO at 1098. So once we pass over that radio station, come back here. Change that to 1098 and make it active. All right, then we'll follow our way, and I think we were going to Fitz next. So 110.2. Oops. Whoopsie, it's a little touchy. All right, and then he had us, we were gonna deviate over to Hayes to get some ribs, and Hayes was 1104. Yep. All right. So that is how you use radio station to radio station. And again, as long as you stay under 1,200 feet, Big Brother won't be in your business. Finally did map the darn brakes to my joystick. Those landings earlier were kind of ugly because I had to take my hand off the joystick, and they have it default set up to control number delete or something. So I have to take a hand off the controller and then 2 hands on the keyboard and then reach back for the controller, and oh, it was just awful. And then that was the parking brake. It actually wasn't like the brake. So when we get in the air, let's see what it... let's make haze 119... What was it? 1104. Sorry. Bouncing all over the place, man. Okay, so haze is active. And we're on the sly, so we're gonna keep it really low, man. We don't want them knowing nothing. Begone, man. Shh. Don't talk to me, man. No, you won't. I'm invisible. If you don't get any readings on the radio station that you're tuning to, it's still considered old school. It's old school stuff now. And it's usually line of sight. So if it is over the horizon, you might have to go up to close to... No, man, I don't want to talk to you, man. You just... I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I can do this all day. What? What? That's what I like to hear. All right. Where were we? Oh, yeah. So, if you're not picking up the information to the station, you might have to start climbing a little higher. The closer you get to it, the easier it will be for you to get a lock on that. Speaking of locks, your G1000 is default. No. Your G1000 is defaulted to follow GPS. So if I engage the autopilot right now, it will follow what is in the GPS. Okay, but I want it to follow to the VOR. I want it to follow localizer. All right, so you see how the display is in pink in the middle. Your arrows are. All right, let me acknowledge him so he is quiet. He goes away. Okay. Hang on. Oh, now they want transitions and everything else. Let's just see how far we can get. All right. You'll notice right off the bat it says GPS and the arrows are pink. That's your first clue that the autopilot is going to use GPS. If you click this button right here that says CDI, see it changes to green, and it now says VOR1. That is radio station 1. All right. So now, if we engage the autopilot and it has a signal, it should... well, it won't immediately lock on. You have to come over here and press this button as well, this navigation button, nav. All right. If it's picking up haze, which I don't think it is, it hasn't made any movement. It hasn't had a movement. All right. So you might have to climb a little higher, or just, keep going in the general direction. So, I don't know exactly. I forgot to take an altimeter reading at the airport. So bad on me. Because I do, I wanted to stay under 1200. But for purposes of this, to show you, let's just keep climbing a little bit. Occasionally tapping the nav button. I wish I could play music without getting a copyright infringement. There's some great music that would really go good with this particular episode of Noobflights. I don't like being political anymore. I don't want to care anymore. It's ruined everything. I'd rather just fly and not worry about it. It's saying that haze is this way. Actually, you see the arrow? If I turn to the arrow, I believe that's the way it says haze is. But we're getting something over here. So which one is it, man? Let's keep climbing and see what happens. $7,000 feet. That's close. We don't want to be much higher than this. Don't want anybody in our business. All right. See what happens if we tap it now. Set it again. Nope, no changes yet. The autopilot is engaged. To be married next Tuesday. Do. Bearing 75. So we're headed in the right direction. There's other ways we can enter this information. Like we could come over here, and I'm not completely 100% with this stuff yet over here, but you can use your GPS to also find radio stations. Let's see. One of these is a radio station page. I think I have it wrong. Well, you can. I'm just not able to completely show you right now. There's airports. One of these you're going to have to watch a good video on using the Garmin. And another way to do it is direct by entering it in that way. So if we kind of get this one. So if we go to HYS, there's H. HYS. We can use the GPS. And then it's enter. And then it says activate, question mark. You hit enter again. Okay, so it should now be plugged in to the GPS, which would require us to switch back over here. Click that. Now that's set to VOR2. And then back to GPS. And the nav's taken over. And we're a little high. They're going to be in our business. you can set your altitude by clicking the, you can get it to altitude hold at the altitude you're at by hitting the altitude button. So it'll hold us at that one right there. Okay, that when you hit that, it puts the current altitude you hit it at here in your altitude indicator. Now the altitude knob to adjust is here or over here. Let's say we wanted to come down to like, let's look, how high are we? Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Seems like it's having a tough time trying to get on course. Hey, you're making us queasy, man. Let's say we want to go down to 8,000 feet or lower. Use the outer knob for 1,000 and inner for 100. So let's just try the little inner one. Go to 8,000 feet. Both sides have an autopilot. I just like using the nav one, I guess. Just habit. See, same buttons. AP. So that's your autopilot button. Flight director. Heading, if you just wanted to follow a heading. Hold, alt hold. Navigation. VNav. I think it's working, but we can get into that a lot later. Keeping it noobish. Turning on approach for instrument landing. Back courses. I haven't really studied back courses yet. That's for me to learn still. Vertical speed, when you can adjust how fast you want to go up and down. You can use a nose up key, nose down, and a flight change. So right now, is it still holding at, okay, it did 8,000 on its own. But normally, once you set, let me look again to make sure we're not going to crash. Got a little room to maneuver. Let's say we're going to go up. We have to go back up. So I clicked it once to take it up to 9,000. Make sure I got enough throttle because I'm going to go up and hit the flight change button, and it should indicate a climb here, and this number should start raising. So we're climbing at 1,200 feet per minute. Now it's kind of, hey, let's not completely jerk it around. And I believe now you can use your nose up and nose down. I think. Maybe not. You might have to hit vertical speed first to adjust your, how much you want it to do. You know, is it critical that we get up to that altitude, or can we just kind of ease on down the road, you know? And it, see if we can get back to a map here. It's not on it. It's close to it. Let's click nav again. Oops. Click nav again. See if it'll get a little tighter. This might still be a bug, but as long as it's close, we're all right. We're still using GPS. The arrows are pink, purple, whatever. If you want to get it a little closer, you could disengage and then turn the airplane and get on it and then re-engage. We'll do that and see what we get. That sounds like the fasten seatbelt. I'm used to something much sharper. Overspeeding a little bit. Don't want to blow the engine. Rip us apart. All right. So trying to put us a little bit closer on our vector, Victor. And then a little more beans. And then hit nav and see what we get here. Oh, good idea to re-engage the autopilot. Come on, man. Get on it. Unless it's using that one up above us and making a fool out of our. No, it wants to go back the other way. Yeah, I've heard that there was autopilot bugs. There's a lot of bugs. Go check the forums out. It's not me, man. I wouldn't do you that way. Where we go one, we go all, and looks like we could go into the ground. Better disengage the autopilot. Never trust them. Never trust the autopilot and get comfortable. 2 seconds, all it takes. Done. You're done. You're done. You're dead. Never trust an autopilot. Well, you know, it's what they call that, the crappy input, crappy output, user error. Well, between us, me and the autopilot, don't trust either one of us, you know? I wonder if we can get that. Probably still too far away, and it's probably over the horizon, but let's see if we can get haze on the VOR. A hyzer. Did I set it to the wrong one? I set it to hyzer at 1,275 miles away. Yeah, I don't think that's the right one. How do we get hyzer? It is hyzer. How stupid. Yeah, see what I mean? Crappy input. Let's fix that. Oops. H. Y. S. HYS. Not hyzer. Okay. Let's go back to GPS real quick. Come on. Hit that flight level change button. It says it'll try to take us back up to 9.2, but it's not really. It's wanting to hang low. Sweet Chariot. Sweet Susie. So back in the old days, again, no GPS. You had to just keep laying low until you got closer and closer and closer to the radio station to eventually get it to lock. No change. Let's see how high we have to go up before it'll take. So it says 9. Let's go to like 11,000 feet. It's hard to see. 11.6. Full throttle. Flight change. Flight change. Of course, this is a smoking flight, being McGaw Airways. Going to Hayes for some ribs. Vertical speed, bring it back up, right? We want to expedite this climb. And hopefully don't stall. So the pink is where we're directing it, and the yellow is the airplane trying to catch up to what we want it to do. So, 5% is nice, but hey, we want to go faster. A 10% climb. Optimum climb is like 75, right? So, yeah, we want it in here. I think even as low as 65 knots would be optimum climb. Optimus Prime climb. Okay, that's a little too much. Now we're getting into stall territory. Real stall territory. So get the nose back down. We don't want to go anywhere near 40. That's deep shit, man. I feel like I can talk that way with you now, considering, we're in this together. We're knee deep in it, man. And please don't take it as mocking, because if we were to sit down and really have an honest conversation about a lot of things, if you're against it, you're allowed to have your opinions. I don't want to. I just want to remain neutral. And that even makes people mad. You can't even remain neutral now. Like, look, I don't want to fight about it. You can't remain neutral. I want to fight. I don't want to fight. I don't care anymore. It was a great song by Phil Collins and Genesis. Okay, so we still haven't caught anything yet. And we seem to have stopped climbing. Hit that flight level change button again. Okay, so the computer, when it's doing it by itself, says, yeah, I'll get you there. Oh, something else that we haven't even talked about in any of these Noobflights for Flight Simulator 2020 yet. We're in Colorado. Your mix, it's setting it automatically at 73%. I was going to see if I can get us a little more boost to RPM. But based on your elevation, you can, get the engine firing just the way you want at the right RPM with the right mixture settings. Another thing you can do if you're going for long distance flights, getting into a nice zen, the plane is nice and level, you got a wind at your back, you can just keep lowering this lower and lower and lower to the point where your engine's just barely sipping on gas. I think it's going to auto mixture on me. It may be set that way. But, explore using this to conserve as much fuel as possible after takeoff. It's something you should really get in the habit of doing, and I should have been showing you. But we've been doing other things. But normally, as soon as I get up in the air, my first concern is to get into the proper cruise configuration to where the engine just sipping the gas. And sometimes speed isn't important at all to me. Conserving gas is more important. So finding the right speed at the right, and applying the right amount of trim to stay in a nice stable flight configuration. Now another thing is the EGT, the heat coming off your butt, your tailpipe. You see that EGT went down? Okay, a hot engine can be a bad thing, and you do well. We can have a discussion on that, Captain, if you want to, and you can talk to me about the finer points of EGT. But the way I understand it is hot is bad and cool is good. So the engine is now barely sipping any gasoline, and we are running cool. The exhaust coming out of the tailpipe is super cool. 2,000 RPM, and the autopilot is still holding us. It's not freaking out. The trim isn't, you can tell if it's freaking out because the trim would be adjusting high or low, to account for the lack of power. And that'll throw you into a stall sometimes. So, as you are messing around with these flight configurations, be very aware of what this wheel is doing. If it starts moving on you, you start losing too much power, it's going to try to hold that your nose up, and you will stall. Okay, so let me apply a little bit more gas to show you what I mean by burning gas. First, here's the fuel flow Come on now, work with me. The fuel flow indicator, how much gas is being put into the engine. All right. Any small adjustment, as I'm raising it, I'm at 50% now. You're just sucking the gas. Even though you've got your mixture leaned really, really low, but you're trying to go fast, you're still sending more fuel into the tank than you want to. And now look at the EGT. It's about 75% power. $80. 100%. All right. So you're still consuming. You are still consuming a lot less fuel by leaning out as far as possible without stalling your engine. But you are still burning way more than you need to be in a straight and level configuration. And we're still climbing. Let me hit the altitude button and hold. Okay, so it's going to hold. So as we start leveling out and it's going to hold the level, it's going to start picking up speed. But we don't want to draw any attention to ourselves. And, we're not in a hurry. So, do we have to go close to yellow lining? No, we don't. We don't. 100 knots, we're still going way faster than driving. And, straight lines and all that. Okay, so, let's see. Okay, we're at 112 and still climbing. So let's start easing off back to 50%. Already at 50%, our fuel flow indicators dropped. The EGT is starting to fall. The white bar on the altitude indicator indicates you're in flap speed. So you can start using flaps to go even slower and then create drag and yada, yada, yada. Usually use them only for landings, but you can use them to go slower. So, you can, if going slow isn't a bother to you, look at the EGT now. It's going cold, which is great. Fuel flow is still really high. So let's start easing it back some more. How low, pardon me, how low can you go before your autopilot freaks and you lose too much speed? Let's find out. We'll try holding there for a minute and see what we get. If it gets too close to 40, then danger, 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 danger. Sometimes using the autopilot to do this isn't even the right way. You know, turn it off and use trim. See the autopilot wheel starting to move a little bit to keep the nose up? It's starting to rotate. And the more it raises, the slower we're going to go and get into dangerous territory. So I don't really want to go any slower than 65. Just kind of want it to hold there. So I'm just going to start easing the gas up a tiny bit. Get that number to stop. Darn it. Be nice if we had a little bit of wind either pushing us or lifting our nose. And now we get our warning. Yeah, we know. Hey, get out of our business. Oh, dangerous. Dangerous. Full power. Full power immediately. Or disengage the autopilot and drop the nose. Okay. Let me disengage the autopilot and see if I can do it just using trim and get us into a configuration. Let's go back to where I wanted it, really low. Hey, buddy, how are you? I got a co-pilot cat. Just came up to say hello. Hey, I'm doing a recording right at the moment. Just give me a minute. I think we're about done. I think they understand it, hopefully. If there's any questions, you can leave them in the comment section. If you want to correct me, hey, go right ahead. That's what I'm a noob. I'm here to learn and help other noobs learn. You have a site, videos that you want us to watch, post them in the comments. If you like what I'm doing, want to keep learning stuff with me, then we need to get this thing to hold. Oh, I said I was going to try doing it with trim. Then leave your links in the comments. I have short-term memory because we're going to Hayes for some barbecue. So, all right. So I can keep using the trim to lower the nose. And now ease back on the fuel. We're still climbing, so we're doing good, actually. So going fast and trying to stay, under 1,200 feet, it's probably a really good idea that you learn how to slow fly anyway, right? Nothing to see here, Air Officer. We got somebody sneaking up on our butt. I don't know what their altitude is, but you see on the co-pilot screen over there, somebody's getting ready to overtake us from... They're probably high up there. That could be a lot more video game-like as they keep improving these and making these more, they start bridging this kind of stuff with like gaming technology, which can provide a whole lot of information. This can still provide a whole lot of information, and it is. But, when it starts becoming more like, a game designer designed it. So, you would know, hey, he's above me, and the information's right there. It's okay. So I've managed to put us into sort of straight and level flight. No, still wants to go up a little bit. So I'm going to lower the throttle a little bit more. All right, now apply a little up trim. Not too much. Hey, easy. Okay, so now I moved it up a little bit. Let me move it back down. All right, so that's that's probably the best. I could probably do a little bit better, but right there, you see that? So, now adjust the mixture as low as possible. Our speed is slow as possible, consuming the least amount of gas possible. And as long as we're not in a hurry to get to a bathroom. But now I understand the meaning of those catheter commercials. I used to laugh at that stuff. But they would always show a pilot. For a while, I kind of didn't get it. And then I'm like, oh. Well, we used to use a bottle, But if you're into the catheter thing, whatever flies your plane. They should really come with coffee makers. But then they even tell you, they make everything so hard to learn. And then they ruin your day by saying, we really don't even want you drinking coffee when you're flying because it's a diuretic and it'll make you go to the bathroom. So it's like, wow, man. If learning wasn't hard enough. Okay, so we're losing a little too much altitude now. So let me put a little guts to her. Not too much. I mean, she's climbing now, at least holding. And we still haven't raised the fuel so much. Just a little bit more. Come on. Don't make us waste the fuel. We're just looking over our crops. Just lima beans and corn, man. Nothing to see here. I have to travel to Kansas every now and then, do a transport, and they actually have, the agricultural reports, and I don't understand half of the stuff that they're saying. But today we're going to talk about the prices of Milo. Like, isn't that a person? No, it's not a person. It's a person named after a plant. So you get the Milo prices for the day when you're traveling through Kansas. It's very interesting. And other agricultural prices. A lot of great farming equipment commercials. Gotta love that. Speaking of tuning from radio stations to radio stations, one pilot that was posting a video that I watched at one point, he says you can actually tune radio stations. So they have these VORs out there on these maps that we're looking at and we have been, going over in this lesson. But he says it was, or at least back then, it was possible to tune your radio station to a radio station, your favorite radio station, and dial into it and follow it into where you're wanting to go. I thought that was pretty cool, and I kind of wished Microsoft Flight Simulator would do that, and then that would avoid all the copyright because they have already paid for it, for letting us acquire radio stations and play them through Microsoft Flight Simulator. What a wish list item, right? Okay, so it's climbing a little too much, but you get my point now. It's the zen of flying slow and conserving your gasoline, and keeping the deep state out of your business, your Bidnez. So thank you for watching this episode of Noobflights. I know it was long, but this was a fun one. This was a real fun one. And I hope you don't mind the political humor and trying to make my points and make it interesting. So thanks for tuning in. Stay safe. Stay under the radar. Fly your VORs. And I'll try to figure out something interesting for the next video.